Oh, Keith Olberman is back. He was on vacation for a little bit, and then he came out. Now, while he was on vacation, a couple of things happened. They wrote an article in the New York Times, which then got a lot of play throughout the blogosphere, as to how they struck a deal between Fox News and MSNBC and NBC overall, saying, hey, you know what, lay off our executives and we'll lay off your executives. We'll pull Olberman back if you pull O'Reilly back, and let's stop attacking each other. Now, New York Times reported this like, hey, isn't that swell? Whereas commentators like Glenn Greenwald and David Sirota look at that and said, no, that's not good. That's terrible. In fact, that was one of the few times that Bill O'Reilly was doing actual journalism, when he talked about the dealings that GE had in Iran. Now, you might not like that. You might think he exaggerated or twisted the facts, but at least he was reporting on something that was relevant, right? And instead, of course, what the corporate sponsors did said, whoa, 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 don't touch the corporations. Let's not do real news here. Let's not attack one another. And then in the meanwhile, they had Richard Wolff, who is a friend of this show, who's been on the show many, many times. I know him personally to some degree. He's a good guy, but he's now working as a private consultant. And he was filling in sometimes for Keith Olberman. And Glenn Greenwald asked, hey, wait a minute now, shouldn't you tell your audience that this guy's being paid as a consultant and hosting this as a news show? So as soon as I saw those stories, and I wish we had time to do them yesterday because I was going to make these predictions, but Mondays are big days and we ran out of time. I was like, here's what Olberman's not going to stand. Somebody telling him, don't go after Murdoch, there's a truce, and now it's in the papers that you've been told to heel, right? And so he came out, first thing he did, boom, attack Rupert Murdoch. He's like, truce? You want truce? That's not how I roll. Okay, so, one, great. Number two, he came out and wrote on Daily Kos, hey, you know what, my bad. I didn't know about Richard Wolff's consultancy. I should have. He will not be on the program until we straighten it out. He's a good guy, but we got to straighten that out, and that's unacceptable not to make the audience aware of that. Responsive to actual criticism. Him and Rachel Maddow, the only people in the media seemingly responsive to real criticism on air, saying, hey, that's a good point, and we will change based on that. Okay, now, point number three is, oh, we got a special comment. You want a special comment? Apparently, the whole time on vacation, just like I would do, he was brewing, and he's like, let me at him. First, he goes after Republicans, then he goes after Democrats. I don't know which one was better, but let's start with the Republicans. Clip number 5.
Because the insurance industry owns the Republican Party. Not exclusively. Pharma owns part of it, too. Hospitals and HMOs another part. Nursing homes, they have a share. You name a Republican, any Republican, and he is literally brought to you by campaign donations from the health sector. Senator John Thune of South Dakota, he gave that Republican rebuttal to the president's weekly address the day before yesterday. He said the Democrats' plan was for, quote, government-run health care that would disrupt our current system and force millions of Americans who currently enjoy their employer-based coverage into a new health care plan run by government bureaucrats. That's a bald-faced lie, Senator, and you're a bald-faced liar.
Booyah!
Your bald face happens to be covered by your own health care plan run by government bureaucrats. But as corrupt hypocrites go, Senator, at least you're well paid. What was that one statement worth to you in contributions from the health sector, Senator Thune? $5,000? $10,000? We know what you are, sir. We're arguing about the price.
Oh, yeah.
What about your other quote? We can accomplish health care reform while keeping patients and their doctors in charge, not bureaucrats and politicians. Wow, Senator, this illustrates how desperate you and the other Republicans are, right? Because, Senator Thune, if you really think bureaucrats and politicians need to get out of the way of patients and their doctors, then you support, obviously, a woman patient's right to get an abortion. And you supported Michael Schiavo's right to take his wife off life support, and you oppose bureaucrats and politicians getting in the way, and we'll just mark you down on the pro-choice list. That's a rare misstep for you, Senator Thune. No $12,000 payoff for that statement. I'm not being hyperbolic, am I, Senator, about the money? Senator Thune has thus far received from the health sector campaign contributions, and all these numbers tonight are from the Center for Responsive Politics. Campaign contributions amounting to $1,206,176. So much for Senator Thune. How about Congresswoman Ginny Brown Waite? Good evening, ma'am. You are the Florida representative who claimed on the floor that Democrats had, quote, released a health care bill which essentially said to America's seniors, drop dead. Now, those are strong and terrorizing words. That's exactly what your insurance and medical overlords wanted to hear. But are you truly worth every dollar of the $369,255 of them you have received over the years from the health sector? I'd read the rest of the operative part of your great speech myself, but your rendition actually cannot be matched.
Listen up, America. Seniors have special needs. This bill ignores the needs of Florida's healthcare system. We should be fixing what is broke, not decimating the care of our senior population.
You can always tell, can't you, Congresswoman, when the hostage is reading her own ransom note and when she is reading one written for her. So much for Congresswoman Brown Waite.
You go get them.
There's so many other Republicans bought and sold like that unfortunate Congresswoman there by the health sector. Minority Leader McConnell of the Senate, you're worth $3.1 million to the health sector, $1.5 million just for last year's election? And I'm supposed to think you aren't a sellout, a liar, a paid spokesman, a shill, a carnival barker? So much for Senator McConnell. Congressman Joe Barton of Oklahoma, $2,660,000, Congressman? That is 10 times what Senator Robert Byrd has accepted from the health sector. Congressman, what a guy. So much for Congressman Barton. Senator McCain, $1.6 million to serve the hospitals and serve the drug companies and serve the nursing homes and not to serve the retirement communities of Arizona or the cancer survivors or the veterans. So much for Senator McCain.
He's not going to spare anyone. Now, the Republicans were a nice warm-up act, and God bless them for saying on TV what almost no one else says, which is every single Republican is bought. Okay, the healthcare industry and the pharmaceutical industry has paid every one of these guys. So now when you talk about the Democrats, yeah, they put a lot of money in there, but they haven't bought all of them yet. Okay, but the Republicans are a no-brainer. But look, the more relevant part is the Democrats. Olberman said it, I say it all the time, because they're the ones that at this point have the power to do it by themselves. And if they don't do it and they sell out their own voters, that's much worse. Now let's let Keith hammer the Democrats.
But that's the real point tonight. Not all of it is going through Republicans. Because the evil truth is the insurance industry, along with the hospitals, HMOs, pharma, nursing homes, it owns Democrats too. Hundreds of Democrats have taken campaign money from the health sector without handing over their souls as receipts. But conveniently, the ones who are owned have made themselves easy to spot in a crowd. They've called themselves blue dogs, and they are out there hand in hand with the Republicans, who they are happy to condemn day and night on everything else, throatily singing kumbaya with the men and women who were bought and sold to defend this con game of an American healthcare system against the slightest encroachment. Congressman Mike Ross of Arkansas, leader of the Blue Dogs in the House, you're the guy demanding a guarantee that reform will not add to the deficit. I'm guessing you just forgot to demand that about, say, Iraq. You're a Democrat, you say, Congressman. You saw what Sandy Barham said? Sandy Barham is 62 years old. She's got a bad heart. She's hoping her valves will hold together for 3 more years until Medicaid kicks in, because she can't afford insurance. Not just for herself, mind you, for her employees, too. She needs the public option. So do those 6 people who work at that restaurant of hers, Congressman Ross. And why should you give a crap? Because Sandy Barham's restaurant is the Broadway Railroad Cafe, and it is at 123 West 1st Street North in Prescott, Arkansas. Prescott, Arkansas, Congressman Ross. Your hometown. You are Sandy Barham's congressman. Hers, sir, not Blue Crosses and Blue Shields, even if they do insure 75% of the state and they own you. The top donor so far to Congressman Ross's bid for re-election next year, the Blue Dog PAC, $10,000. Second, something called Invacare, $7,300. Oh, they make wheelchairs and rollers and slings. They're big in slings. Tied for third, the American Dental Association, another grand, $5,000, matter of fact. Your top donors by industry, Congressman Ross, health professionals, $29,250, then pharma and health products, $12,250. And so far in your career, Congressman Ross, your total haul from the health sector is $921,000. That is 90th in the combined list of donations for the House and the Senate, sir. 90th out of 537. You should be proud, Congressman. Except for the fact that before you started living off the public dime, you owned a pharmacy, and your grandmother was a nurse. And it turns out you're not Sandy Barnum's congressman after all. You are Blue Cross's. So much for Congressman Ross. Senator Max Baucus of Montana. Good evening, Senator. So you're supposed to be negotiating all this out with the Republicans and the hesitant Democrats to gain bipartisanship with a wholly owned subsidiary of the health sector. Bipartisanship that will get you what? A total of no votes? And your price has been, let's see, $414,000 in donations from the hospitals, $667,000 in donations from the insurance companies, just over $1 million from Big Pharma, $1,300,000 from other health professionals, and $237,000 from nursing homes. So much for Senator Baucus.
And it goes on and on. He went after so many Democrats, I lost count. And afterwards, he got further into his special comment, and he said that they're prostitutes, that they will suffer our full wrath. We're coming for them. And then cross us all at your peril. Now, look, why is this so important? I mean, look, you can say, hey, why did you even show it to us? That's what you tell us every day, right? The reason I showed it to you is because, man, when it's on national television, it captures people's attention. I mean, shoot. We have it on in the other room here, and after the show we were doing some things, and I almost never go back to the other room. And I was like, wait a minute, I think I hear something interesting going on television. And I went and sat down, and I thought, oh, these Blue Dog Democrats and the Max Baucuses, they're going to see this spanking. And when they see it, they're not going to want to go through round two. And immediately they heal. Mike Ross on a local affiliate today talking about, what? No, it was the Republicans' fault. What are you talking about? George Bush did socialized medicine more than anyone ever did. And that Medicare bill, the prescription drug bill that he got passed, cost over $1 trillion and cost more than anything that Barack Obama's reform plan is going to do. Mike Ross, you're acting like a Democrat? What happened? Oh, all of a sudden something got into you, isn't it? Maybe you saw a little bit of something on national TV, so ooh. Cross them at my peril. Look, I don't want to just say it's Olberman, right? And there's been a lot of pressure building, et cetera, et cetera. But it is an interesting coincidence that all of a sudden Mike Ross acts like a Democrat. All of a sudden, for the first time that I've ever seen, he's attacking Republicans rather than fellow Democrats. And we tell you every day, Keith put it really nicely, you do the numbers. These people don't represent you. They represent Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Big Pharma, etc. They're bought and paid for, and the reason why what Olberman did was so great is because no one on television tells you that, which is unbelievable. What he said is so obviously true, and yet every other show will pretend like that the politicians are on the level, that all that money they're getting doesn't affect them at all. As we've told you before, Max Baucus, his nickname is the Senator from K Street. He's collected, in total, nearly $4 million from the healthcare industry. Much more money than he has ever collected from his home state of Montana. Now, you think that might be relevant in the dozens of articles that I saw about Max Baucus, which never mentioned it. But now that Olberman said it on TV, look, I don't want to make it seem like it's the end-all, be-all. But it is really important. Now that he said it, it's caught everybody's attention, and he said it strong. Watch. You will see articles now say, oh, you know what? On the other hand, this senator or this congressman does get XYZ from the healthcare industry. Because you got to shake the press out of their complacency. If you don't do it, they're just going to take their marching orders from whichever government or office or corporation told them and gave them a press release to print out in their articles. So on that note, God bless Keith Olberman, man. That's exactly what we needed. If you like this little clip, you'll love the whole show. It loops 24/7 on theyoungturks.com. Go and check it out right now.